creating a compensation system, you have to be very careful in what you create because it will incent a certain behavior.
Yep.
And you have to make sure that what you're trying to incent is what you incent. Because if you get it wrong, people are going to gravitate to whatever the incentive system is.
How have you messed that up before?
I've messed it up. I think I still mess it up a lot. I think it's hard because I was always under the opinion, because this is the world I came in on, and then I worked as a leader or trainer in that environment for 4 or 5 years, hiring people. I did the hire. So I went from being a new hire, to an advisor, to hiring new people. And so I assumed everyone I was hiring, and it was true early on, wanted the same thing I did and was kind of wired the same way. So it was an easy story. I told those stories that you can make as much money as you want and you'll be as successful as you, and it was true. And the people that made it through were very similar to me in their motivations. But what you realize is once you get out of that and you start to build a company and you hire people that have different skill sets, you don't want everyone to look like you. And so you have to be careful about assigning compensation based upon production or revenue or whatever it is you want to, however you're going to do it. If that's not what you're trying to, when I hired, my very first assistant as an hourly employee, part of the reason people are attracted to this business is to help people, but they don't necessarily want to sell. And that's scary to them. So they don't want their compensation driven by the results. They want it driven by, okay, give me a task. If I can complete that task, you pay me for the task. So what I've realized is, one is you don't want to incent everyone the same way. Two is you don't want to hire people like you all the time.
Like me?
You're a challenge. You're a challenge. You and your brother are really interesting examples because you're so different in skill sets and you're so different in what your motivations are, in how you process information, how you should be paid. They're very, very, it's an interesting challenge as an employer and as a parent.
Those are two different things.
Well, yeah, they are.
Did you think you would ever actually hire your children, and did you think they would ever actually stay?
No. It was never the goal. It became an option, but it was never the goal. I didn't even think I wanted it, quite honestly. I thought.
Well, I know you didn't want it.
Because I didn't want to. It had never been demonstrated to me on how to do that well. Most of the stories you hear about family businesses are terrible.
Right.
They don't work out very well. So I didn't know how to separate being a parent and being a boss or a mentor or whatever word you want to use. And it's actually been pretty easy. It hasn't been any harder than it is to hire people in general. Let's put it that way. I think hiring people in general is hard, and motivating people and sending them properly and finding the right roles. And I think that's hard in general. I actually think it's marginally easier to do. It has been marginally easier to do that with you and Daniel.